Howdy, this is the Rusted Knight. Episode 4 is going to be about family life and all those who are in your life with this daily walk. I was telling a Marine buddy of mine, Ricky, just today that honestly, though the life of chronic pain is repetitive, a lot of the stuff we face is not very different. New things can be added to the list as we get older, but that is the irony of a lot of our situations, is that we walk into the doctor's offices and we are told things like, you're too young to be facing these issues. While that seems to be true, there really is no answer for that statement. We can't change the circumstances we're in. We just have to walk through them and be brave in them. Another thought is that what is going to happen when we arrive at the age we are actually supposed to be facing these issues? It is something I honestly am just in denial of, because if I face these issues in early to mid 30s, what are my 50s going to look like? My 60s, my 70s? It makes you think, for sure. But that is all part of the adventure, I guess. Anyway, I am all about feedback, so whatever you're feeling, good or bad, let me know in the comments. That is the primary reason of this channel, is to open discussion and relate with one another. So if there is something I can work on, I am willing to hear out those opinions of the listener. And that means you. How do you handle pain getting in the way of family life? That's a question I ask myself, and that's something that I wanted to present to all of you to think about. And I came up with a few things to talk about just to try to help us work through that question and that curiosity. The other day, my wife said, after I explained that my back was spasming terribly after our kid was only happy after if I would just hold him. That's pretty much all that makes him happy. I tried everything else to please him, but medicine isn't enough for me to handle it. And she says to me, just sit down, I'll get everything done. When it comes from my wife, it's not sarcastic. There's no guile in that statement. She's actually saying that. She's serious. Because you hear that from somebody, you're thinking there's some sarcasm there, there's a little bit of edge there, but with her, she actually means it. I told her I don't want her to have to do everything. I just don't see another way. My goal is not to have everyone else do everything for me. I never feel more hopeless than when I have to stand by, or sit by really, and watch those I love carry my weight and their own. This can be in heavy labor such as yard work, or light duty such as dishes in the kitchen or food prep or dinner that night. The catch-22 is that you begin to see your family getting stressed because you can't step up the way you used to. It becomes very important that your family knows your limitations and you set expectations early on so that everyone can be on the same page, especially for the young bloods, because they know nothing else except for a broken parent that can't operate the same way other parents might operate. Their friends, their parents who are young and healthy and strong. I saw that a lot because of who my parents were, and I was born to older parents, honestly. I had the 50 and 60-year-old parents, and I'd go to my friends' houses, and they had parents who were 20s and 30s and 40s. It was mind-blowing, because I didn't understand that. I always had older parents. So that was all new to me. But I grew up with a father who had severe back problems because of the construction work he was in, and iron work and hard labor that he worked growing up. Then he ended up with terminal leukemia. So I believe when children understand their parent has health issues, it's not a shameful thing. In fact, it teaches a kid to have more understanding and mercy toward those who deal with major health issues. I happen to marry into a family who has little to no understanding or mercy when it comes to my limitations. In fact, I see a lot of passive aggression and a hostility that they attempt to hide, but it becomes clear as day that they have disappointment in their son-in-law, who their daughter married, regardless of the home I provide, the safety I give my wife and son, or the life I provide for them. Like I've said before, when your issues inconvenience other people's lives, you get to see a truer side of them than normal. Are they going to be patient and understand? Or are they concerned only with their own program and show you little to no compassion? Time will tell, my friends. When a spouse who you live with has to handle much of the weight of the family, it becomes a further challenge for that spouse because they have to pick up a lot of the slack that the disabled spouse leaves lying around. You need to locate and search out the chores around the house you can handle as soon as possible. This will encourage your family and your spouse that you are weighing in as much as you can. There are specific things that I do in the house that either my wife dislikes, like folding the laundry, which is a light job and I can actually handle that. So there's just things that we've come up with over time that she prefers that I do. And I provide that, and she enjoys the break. Whereas a lot of the work she does have to handle because of my limitations. You may also have a spouse who adores you. However, everyone is flesh and blood, and having to do the lion's share of the work around the house will wear anyone out. Even the biggest servant's heart, you might know, can tire out and grow weary in doing good. I've seen it. And family and friends, they can't hold up for years without showing some kind of contempt for those who aren't as able as others. People's true colors can begin to show when everything in life is not as peachy as they had hoped or dreamed for. I myself have to deal with a lot of guilt and beat myself up for being that burden to those around me. This battle is every day, and it isn't easy, especially when I devoted so much of my life to serving others. The only peace of mind I have in the storm that I walk through every day is that I served others so much and worked so hard in every job I ever had since I was 15 that I worked myself out of commission. Now when it comes to the great pleasure of holding my precious son, I can only last for 10, 15 minutes. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to face, and I knew that exact battle was coming long before he was born, due to not only back issues, but multiple knee surgeries. The mettle of those around you will begin to be tested, and all you do is continually remind them that you cannot do what you used to do. And if you do, you become a raging bull because the pain will eventually wear you down, and you'll become resentful of others for pressing you into helping them. I'm only speaking from experience, because eventually I just feel like I have to help, even though I know I shouldn't be, and I know my limitations. I do it anyway, and it gets me into a world of pain. It can become a vicious cycle in the blink of an eye if there is not constant communication and expectations are assumed and not spoken about. You have to speak with one another and leave nothing unsaid. And my motto is to take nothing for granted, making sure everything is as understandable as possible for everyone involved. Some people out there don't have that expectation of you. They do exist. I have friends and family who they know that I have a lot of body issues, and they allow me to not have to take part in the heavy physical activities that may arise. But it makes you wonder, what does it say of those who know you have problems and still give you orders? I've had too many people tell me, just say no to people. I just have a very hard time doing it because I practiced serving others for probably a solid 19 years before I actually started to look out for myself. And I was in the military, where the culture is to say yes to everything that comes from your superiors. Saying no is just not in me already. I have 2 decades worth of yeses, and starting so late in life makes it even harder, more difficult to say no. So you put all that equation together and you end up with one heck of a mess of problems. Pain and denial and guilt and helping others and not being able to, and stresses of lack of ability to do so following, and the fallout of pain for days after because you overdid it, which is not much in the first place. It makes for even more isolation and more guilt and more issues that all reset. That same Marine buddy, Ricky, I spoke about earlier, texted me and said he had this numbness in his left foot and his SI joint was screaming at him. At that exact moment, my stomach was burning and churning because I have multiple gut issues. It just gets old. I mean, it's already old, but it gets old day after day. and there seems to be no end in sight. In fact, like I said, the list only gets longer as we get older. The frustration and rage builds, and either you decide to loose it on some piece of furniture, or you bottle it up for later and hopefully don't let it blow out all over some poor soul. I told Ricky I hate the fact that all we seem to talk about is each other's body issues. I mean, we can sit for hours outside of a coffee house and either talk about our pains or how doctors are ignoring our needs and how our surgeries are either delayed or the ones that we had only made things worse for us. It makes me feel like an old man, and I'm halfway to 40 years old right now. With family, you have to set the boundaries that I talked about as you can, as you're able, and show your appreciation for those around you for all that they do. Even if they hardly do anything to assist you in your pains and disablement, find something to verbally praise them for. Find a gift or a thank you card to purchase for them. This is what I call an oil change. It helps just to keep going those few extra 1,000 miles more. It will help to fill their tank and assure them that you see them and that they know you appreciate their constant service and assistance to you in everything you can't do for yourself. Keep those chins up and don't give up the fight. Somehow, some way, it's worth the pain, and we will be redeemed and restored one day. Godspeed out there, everyone. I sure appreciate your attendance in this thing I call chronic pain support for all of you and even myself. I find purpose and determination to keep in the fight myself by creating this content. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones each and every day. And remember, always be on the lookout for those opportunities to show your help to them and your love for them. Rusted Knight, signing off.